What's going on, Star Wars fans?
Hello there.
We are here with 7, 8, and 9 of Andor. Spoilers. It was such an amazing 3 episodes, which we knew it was going to be. So we're going to sit here. We're going to talk about it. Mike's on. He's going to be on for a little bit. He does have to go. If you haven't already, check out his breakdowns. They are amazing, and he covers them step by step. I want to say hi to Darth Plagueis, Steve Jedi. Thank you guys for joining us, and let us know what you guys thought of the episodes. Give us a 1 to 10 on episode 7 right now. We'll go ahead and get into 7, but we'll also go 8 and 9, and let's rock and roll. So, Mike, what did you think?
Yeah, I'll start with ratings. So episode 7 was the lowest, but even episode 7 was still really good. I think I put it at around an 8.8 out of 10 for that episode 7, which is still very, very high score. But it's episode 8 and episode 9. I put them both at a 10 out of 10, and I rarely ever do 10 out of 10s. Like Ahsoka is the last thing I remember giving a 10 out of 10, and it was like episode 5 or whatever it was. So it's hard to put into words because, like Ron was saying right before we started the stream, is the writing for this is so good that like it's almost impossible to describe what you're feeling when you're listening to Will Mon's girlfriend, Drina, I think her name was, when she's talking at the end of episode 8, or when Mon Mothma gives her speech, or when Bix is talking at the end of episode 9. Like, you can't really describe that. Just the sensation of crazy goosebumps and emotions all at the same time. It's just awesome. And of course, the whole Cyril thing. But so yeah, 10 out of 10s for the back 2 and an 8.8 for the 7.
Derek?
Oh, so I said 8.7 last night for episode 7, and then 10 out of 10 and 1,000 out. I did 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, but the 2 combined of 8 and 9, 1,000 out of 10. I said this on Mike's watch party. It is my favorite piece of Star Wars content. And people were like, oh, you're just saying that because it's in the moment, blah, blah, blah. I watched it 2 more times today. 2 more. And I'm going to say this on the record, folks. It passed Empire for me.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because here's why. Because it evoked emotions that I didn't get to live out when Empire came out because I wasn't alive.
No, that's absolutely valid.
And so seeing that in person live the exact same time with people that care about it with me, that was a new thing for me.
It was something.
Love that, Derek.
That's pretty good.
Nice mug.
Yeah, Geeky Tiki, sponsor the show, guys. We need
Oh,
that.
no, I feel that.
Where's your good cups follow orders?
It's right here. It's right here. But it's not a tiki cup.
It's a good one.
We'll have to send you one.
I think I have one. I think I have a Grogu one, actually. Probably upstairs.
Nathan, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for joining. Nicholas, what do you got?
I said last week that my rating system's broken. So I don't know if I can give a number, but I'll give a long, drawn-out explanation. How's that?
Better than the number.
Yeah, so I agree with you, Derek. I thought I was going to be the first one that had to say it because for whatever reason, I feel like you're not allowed to say it. That was the best thing we've ever seen, in my opinion, because it was like so real. And as Mike said, you can't really describe how you're feeling. Like there are so many more moments, but like you said, Drina on the radio was like chilling.
So crazy. Yeah. And it pans to all of them, like all the dead rebels on the ground and Cassian crying.
And it kind of like brings up a difference here. I remember when Rogue One came out, I remember I was with my buddy Austin, who I hope that we can have on here sometime. But I remember thinking like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that this might be one of the best things that they've ever made. Like, I don't think we're there yet where I'm allowed to say something like that because it's not the classic things that I'm like attached to. But even things like, which is one of the biggest parts of my life is seeing Obi-Wan and Anakin duke it out in that emotional scene. It's not the same. It's a very different level of good. And that's like the best ever in Star Wars for me. But this was like the best thing I've ever seen in Star Wars. And so my ratings are the same as yours. High 8 for the first one. If you consider them as a composite, a 10. because the first one sets up the tens.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't care. I feel like I was worried. You're not allowed to say that Andor is the best thing you've ever seen in Star Wars, but and it's a 10 for a different reason, Mike. Like episode 5 of Ahsoka was a 10 for you. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is like I agreed at that time, but it's a different type of 10.
Yeah,
That's a Star Wars 10, and this is a holy shit. This is Star Wars 10. I don't know how to describe it, but
it's hard to describe. But I will say, I felt the same feeling I felt when I watched Ahsoka versus Anakin in the World Between Worlds that I felt when I was watching these episodes. Like that's the same feeling that you try to evoke. I will say, having just watched Revenge of the Sith, and you bring that up, watching that Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight, it's obviously emotional, but it's not the same. It's not the same as what you felt like last night, or even you feel with some other things. It's just something completely different.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I really don't.
If you'd have told me 5 years ago, and they said they're going to make this show, that this is how I would feel.
Yeah, it's the show that no one wanted, that everyone needed.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, and that's pretty much what all of Disney Plus shows have been. Like nobody asked for a Mandalorian show, nobody asked for an Andor show, nobody asked for a Ahsoka series, or I guess some people asked for a Boba Fett show, but most stuff people just didn't ask for, and they gave it to us. And when they were announced, we were like Skeleton Crew were like, what is this? And Skeleton Crew was great. Like
the Incredibles.
Exactly. Like
incredible.
So when it comes to Andor, and I get you guys are saying like it's the best thing we've ever seen. I was very hesitant to say that, and Derek can attest to that. On my live stream last night, I was I kept saying it's one of the best things we've ever seen. And honestly, I still haven't come to the conclusion yet. I am very sleep deprived, and I don't think I am able to create full sentences. So I have to like rewatch Revenge again and Empire, and it's sort of go back. But it's definitely up there in the conversation, and that's crazy. Just even being in the conversation is crazy. But yeah, the whole conversation of nothing new can be in that conversation is just stupid. Like, what are we talking about? Star Wars is still being made today. Who cares if it's not George Lucas anymore?
I don't see how you can argue that it's not the most well-written, most emotion-evoking, realist, pure feeling thing that they've ever made. I mean,
and that's what I was going to say. The writing, like I said before we even got on, and I think everybody will agree with me, the writing in this is just phenomenal. To take these characters from, again, where we started at the beginning of season 1 to now, to somebody like Cyril and Dedra and Andor. I mean, they're all just, I can't wait to see, because we didn't get any Saw in these 3.
None. We didn't
get any Krennic, right?
Hardly any Luthen.
No Krennic either. I forgot about that. And Luthen was only in the last one.
So it'll be interesting. Hopefully we'll get Luthen's story, which I think is going to be amazing. I hope.
Oh yeah.
But the writing to switch these characters, and I don't think anybody saw, again, there's spoilers, so turn us off if you want. There's nothing. There's nobody that thought that that's how Cyril was going to go out, and that was what was going to happen to Bix.
No.
I thought she was going to die. I'm glad she didn't, but I thought she was going to. And same with Cyril. I wasn't sure what he was going to do. And I think, and I don't know if you had said it on your recap or not, Mike, but he starts to put the gun down. Because I watched it again.
I did.
He starts to like, okay, I'm gonna, and boom, he's, so again, what great writing, because you can't help but feel for, I forget what his name is, but you can't help but feel for him. Like, you know what, I'm gonna shoot this MFer. He's, you know what, he just messed all this up. He drug us into this, because that's what he's looking at him going, you are the person that
you
did
ruined
this
my life. Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The cool thing about that, and Caro Rylands, I believe his name is, him being the guy who took the shot, was at the beginning of that episode. And for the entirety of the Gorman arc, he's been the guy who's like, we got to do this peacefully. And while his kid and all the other young rebels are like, no, we should fight back and do all that stuff, he's like, nah, we got to keep it peaceful. He's the only one who saw it was a trap when they opened up the plaza.
Yes.
He's the only one who knew it was a trap. And then he goes to warn everybody. He sees Cyril. They have that whole he throws him to the ground and all that stuff. He's yelling at him, whatever. And that's where he gets through to Cyril, by the way, because like you said, Cyril drops the gun. He's not going to kill Cassian there. I think Cyril actually fully turned. Obviously, he literally chokes Dedra, which is insane. But
Yeah.
there's so much in that episode. Like, you just think of more and more and more stuff that happened. But the craziest part of all that is Cassian looks him right in the face and goes, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
That's just
You're
brutal.
so insignificant that I
Yeah.
don't even know who you are.
Cyril's whole life for the last like 3 years has been all about finding Cassian. Same with Dedra. And they've been so obsessed with it. And his reaction is, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
It's so crazy, but it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. And I think it's also to talk, right. We'll say the writing was great a million times tonight, and I
Yeah.
think everybody knows, but masterclass in our fandom versus like a well-written show is we've talked for hours about what we think is going to happen, who's choking Dedra,
Yeah.
what sets off the Gorman massacre. I was out here telling you guys it's going to be this big elaborate, all the rebels are going to get in
Yeah.
there and do this thing, and it's exactly the way it looks. It's very simple. It's exactly the way it's playing out, just like it would in a real world in that sort of scenario, and it is brutal. And it didn't need Vader to be there to choke Dedra like everyone in the world thought that was going to happen, and didn't need the Rhino that me and Derek thought was going to be pumped through there and kill everybody. It was just a brutal mess.
And what a great job she did.
Yeah.
When
Oh, yeah.
after she got choked and she's just sitting down there and her hand shaking. I mean, what great acting she did for that. For us to, like you said, Mike, for us and Derek, for us to feel that emotion because we're so involved in these characters, whether they're good guys or bad guys. Like I think you said that on your recap, Mike. With Cyril, he's supposed to be the bad guy, but we all sort of felt bad when he was like, "Oh, damn, well, okay."
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's crazy about that too, it's like, I hated Cyril in season 1. He was a very irrelevant character to me, and now he's such a great character. Like, he's in my top 5 easily in this series. So the obviously the character development there, but like you were just saying, by the end of episode 8, your reaction to Cassian as he's crying, driving away, and all the dead rebels is the same as for Cyril, who just died, and Dedra, who's freaking out, and Edie, who's been like the worst the whole time, but then she's crying. Like, you feel bad for even the bad guys in the scenario. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The whole massacre is like a lose-lose for everybody, except for, I guess, like Palpatine. But
Yeah. Well, like Nathan said, these Gorman people have had 2 massacres now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
these
now
guys
it's over.
had a bad couple days.
And their planet might be destroyed too, or at least corrupted or whatever, because they're going to mine all the calcite out of it.
Yeah, once they start drilling everything out of there.
Something
I could even see that, like, not to throw useless speculation, I could even see it being a scenario where the Empire turns out they don't even need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that too.
Yeah,
I can see that too.
Galen's got the project done in 2 years now. We don't really need it.
True. Something that really shocked me that people didn't really talk about, or I guess because episode 8 and 9 were so good, is episode 7. There's a Force healer on Yavin. Like, that just kind of went under the radar. Like, it was sort of nothing. And it shows Cassian's sort of mistrust for Force users and all that stuff. And it's kind of the same in Rogue One with Chirrut and stuff. But in Marva didn't trust Force healers. Yeah, exactly. That girl right there. And funnily enough, I tried to figure out what her name was. In the credits, it's just Force healer. Like, it's she doesn't even have a name.
Which I think is cool, though. I'm glad that they just left it like that instead of somebody that we could look up and what do we got now? It's just a.
But same thing. If you'd have told me a couple of years ago that seeing a Force healer on Yavin 4 Rebel base would be the least interesting thing to me in the season, I would have said you're crazy. How could you? That sounds really cool. Like, who is it? And I don't even care. And it's okay.
But the setup of that character and its genius again is it's pretty much telling Cassian and telling Bix how important Cassian is. She calls him the messenger. Like, he literally is when he's giving the Death Star plans out to the rebellion. But he has this purpose, and that's sort of what's been emphasized, at least in these 3 episodes, but even through the whole second season, is him becoming this leader. but Bix sees it so much more than Cassian sees it. And Cassian's like, I want to run away with Bix. And she's like, no, they need you here. And it's just, it leads up to this crazy, it feels like episode 9 was the finale of this show, which is crazy because we get a whole nother 3 episodes next week.
Yeah.
Which is wild. But yeah, that whole.
Well, we're missing one giant piece of this puzzle, and that's the opening scene, the first scene of episode 7.
Yavin.
Yeah. And like,
yeah, I did not see that coming at all.
No.
I thought we weren't getting Yavin until at least the finale or maybe even the end of episode 9.
Yep. And the fact, like, I know I gasped. I can't say that right now. Gasped. The same time that Mike did. Like, we were both like,
yeah. As soon as they did that, though, you're like, we're in for this. Because they're like, we're not messing around. We're not going to wait for Yavin anymore. Like, we're going to give you a General Draven. We're going to give you all this stuff, mentions of Dodana, like all this crazy Yavin 4, all of it at once, because everything else that comes after this is even crazier. So we're not only give you Yavin.
Not only seeing it, but like momentary big momentum of like talking about what it is and like who's kind of going and why, and like that it's almost a military base but not yet. Like I didn't expect even an explanation. I thought maybe they'd show it. We're like, wow, we got this right away, cool. But then it's in the psyche of this whole arc the whole time. And
and Bale saying that he can't go because it's not ready yet. And they still need someone there at the Senate.
Yeah. Well,
which is genius.
Yeah, talking about that too. Like Luthen saying in episode 9 to Cassian, Cassian's like, Mon's going to Yavin, why don't you come to Yavin? And he's like, I'm not going to Yavin. He's like, I got loose ends to tie up and all this other stuff. Like he knows that his time is sort of coming to an end almost. I caught something when I was, and maybe it's just my delusion, but I caught something in episode 9 which was very strange, and that was when Luthen goes to Mon Mothma and tells her that Bail Organa's team is corrupted and to not trust them. And he says, I can't tell you how I know or whatever, and don't tell anybody that I told you this, whatever. We later find out that the secret agent, the girl with the blaster, is hired by Lonnie.
Mm-hmm.
And Lonnie is, of course, hired by Luthen, or is Luthen's rebel spy in the ISB. So what do you guys think's going on there? Like, why would Luthen hire or tell Lonnie to hire a secret agent to go onto Bale's team? Does he really want Mon Mothma to trust him more or something? Like, what do you guys think's going on there?
I think
now.
So.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think that's exactly what he did. He was like, hey, I need you to put somebody in there, because I also don't think that he might not trust Val as much, because he's not. How much does he know about Val, and has he had any interaction with him? He knows Mon. He knows what her alternative, or what she wants to do, what the end game is for her. So I feel like he made that happen so that he could control it. He could have Cassian get her, whether it's to the Ghost Crew or whatever, instead of having. So again, you're bringing the Empire into it, but it's set up not to look like Luthen did it. That's my opinion.
I think it's a trust thing, like you just said, Ron. Like he doesn't trust Bale as much. I feel like Bale's a big Yavin guy, and if Luthen's not a big Yavin guy, that might be different. He's been working with Mon, but I think the real reason is because it's like another redundancy for Luthen. So it would be weird if something like putting a plant in Mon Mothma in Bale's team is something that Lonnie would do, and all of a sudden in this big thing, he tells Lonnie not to do it. Or so maybe he like knows, okay, I know it's going to be there, so let that happen. But Mon, you have to go with Cassian. Like, I don't know where Lonnie stands now, because we know he gave him Gorst, and that really messes with Lonnie. I just assume that like Luthen's like, I know I have an ISB plant. I can't tell you that. I know that team's corrupted. It's a certainty. You have to trust me. And it's like just another redundancy of like, it puts Lonnie in front of him and it puts that agent in front of Lonnie. And,
I don't
know.
The weird part about it too is it's so subtle. Like they
Mhm.
only mention him, Lonnie, by his last name, and they only mention him once. So if
Mhm.
you're really not crazy like us, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
But the other weird thing is, we know from the trailers, now there's very little trailer footage left, but we know a few things. Dedra is in the gallery.
Mhm.
So maybe Lonnie sells them out, or maybe she puts the pieces together. I don't know. With Cyril gone for a whole year, what does Dedra's life look like now? Like, what is she doing? Is she
Mhm.
gone back to Axis? Is she obsessed with that now because Gorman is over? I
Big
don't
ass
know.
promotion, probably.
Yeah, that's true too. But
Mhm.
she, going into the last 3 episodes, we have a lot of loose ends. Bix is kind of, I guess, tidied up a little bit. She's gone. But Luthen, Clea, Dedra, like all these big characters, they got to go away or they got to die. Like something's got to happen.
Well, or is Cyril's mom gonna have the uncle do something?
Right.
Uncle Harlow.
Uncle Harl? Yeah. I mean,
Uncle
and
Harlow's the Marok of this show.
like, wouldn't it be funny if Uncle Harlow is actually like Palpatine?
It
Snoke.
would be.
Snoke. Oh, there you
There's a
go.
couple there's a couple questions on here and some statements and stuff, but Nathan was talking about the room when they're in the Senate and gave him like a THX 1138 vibe, which I agree with. And Steve was talking about we get K2 back, which is cool, and Gold Squadron. I don't know, did we see Gold Squadron X-Wings on Yavin? I don't know if we could actually differentiate between the X-Wings that were Gold Squadron or not. I mean, Gold Squadron was the Ghost and a couple X-Wings to help out. So
Yeah.
at least I'm mentioning it, which I thought was which was really cool. What's going on, B-Man? And then Nathan again, it was like, I think we got several people that Perrin, we haven't seen Perrin in a while, or anymore. So what happens? I think obviously she goes. She's not going to reach out to him. B, we're not going to see him anymore. He's gone.
No.
And there was one other one, but I
What happened to Saw? Where was Saw?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, Saw's
but
gonna
nobody's
be. He's gonna be, because we see him on Jeddah in the trailers. So yeah, where was he and all that stuff? I don't know. And Wilmon just kind of left him at some point over that the course of that year. So yeah, there's a lot of definitely unanswered questions still.
And Saw still has to become Lieutenant Dan. He's got to lose his legs.
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
there's a
something
lot
big-
going on that we
I mean,
still need.
Yeah, we're not going to like take a cliff dive in episode 10, 11, 12. They're still going to be at the same quality. Like people, when the critics are talking about the back half of the season, they talk about the last 2 arcs, not just this one that we watched. So I think this next arc is going to be really, really good. But another thing I was going to say was, you have all these characters that sort of have to die, I guess. But there's a lot of story that happens in this year before then. And what I mean by that is you look at Star Wars Rebels. Thrawn, the whole Lothal stuff, Ezra and them disappearing. During Rogue One, the Ghost, Chopper, and Hera Syndulla are on the Yavin 4 base. We know that. We hear them called General Syndulla, we see Chopper, and we see the Ghost. So if this show is leading directly into those scenes of Rogue One, Yavin 4, then it could be very well possible that like the Ghost could be there, Chopper could be there, maybe a mention of Hera, probably not a sight of Hera, but like next year is going to be a lot of familiar faces. Bale's going to be on Yavin. We're going to get to see Draven again and all these other people, Admiral Radis, like those familiar faces from Rogue One. And it's sort of like, what's the bar of where does that stop? Do we get Leia? Do we get, I don't know, anybody else really?
Right.
And to state the obvious, at that point we have 2 years of whatever Saw's doing, 2 years of whatever Krennic's doing.
Yep.
A
lot of Krennic.
essentially 2 years of whatever Luthen's doing, because we got more of an in the moment situational Luthen in this last one.
Yeah.
And
the
I
Death
like,
Star.
yeah, and the Death Star's coming along.
Yep.
See if Gorman worked out for them. I don't know. Probably doesn't matter. Death Star gets built. But we had talked about last week. We kind of got a little bit of an answer or an insight as to where the future alliance is at. And I think we see now that Luthen's not in the alliance that we get to know in our classic story. Like he's not necessarily creating the alliance. He's helping it, but like giving it the fertile soil to grow. And he's kind of like, and I think we always knew that, but I always was wondering, like, is he on the Mon Mothma side or the Saw Gerrera side? Because he seemed
Yeah.
pretty annoyed with Saw in the first season, all that stuff. So
He's
I
on
think
his own
he's-
side.
Yeah, he's on his own
yeah,
side.
and it's more. This arc really solidified it for me that like Luthen's like a one-man mob,
Yeah.
and it's like, are you going to be a part of the Rebel Alliance? Or are you going to just do odd jobs for Luthen? And I
Yeah.
thought that there'd be some sort of crossing or something, because
I think-
even Saw is not that way. Saw is a militant organization that just does their thing. So
Well, I think the rebellion just outgrew Luthen. Like
Mhm.
he was the catalyst with Aldani and all this other stuff, like, and his connection to Mon Mothma in the Senate. So it just kind of outgrew him. Like you said, he's just sort of doing missions. Well, the rebellion's trying to actually build an army to do something bigger than that.
yeah, they're moving
Did
on.
you say that he was the spark?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. What's really interesting now, because we got so little Luthen this week, is that the rumor that we're supposed to get his backstory in episode 10. Like, what is this backstory really going to be, and how relevant will it be to how we look at the character of Luthen? Like, will it change forever, or like what's the deal with that? I don't know.
Yeah, that'll definitely be interesting. Because again, I don't think it'll be that long, but I think with the writing, it's going to be fantastic. Even if it's a 2-minute segment that just gives us his backstory, we're
Yeah.
going to get so much in that 2 minutes. And you're right. I didn't even think about that, Mike. Is this going to, because right now Luthen is one of my favorite characters in this, if not my favorite character.
Yeah.
Especially when I saw that ship last season, I thought that was just like the most badass ship around.
Yeah.
But is it going to be like, oh, this guy's been an ass the whole time, I don't know why I even liked him? Or is it going to be like, oh, now I see why he's doing this. He did, whatever the backstory is. So I think that'll be a cool. I don't think they'll disappoint on that one. Like I said,
No.
I don't know last time, but the whole not John Nowwood, I was hoping for a little bit more when we were talking about his backstory coming up in one of those episodes. I was like, all right, this ought to be cool. And it was like, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Ron, I think that's how we're gonna get it, but in the way you were hoping. So I don't think we're getting like flashbacks or anything, but I think there's gonna be like, dialogue that tells who he is, or like even if, like you said, Mike, if Dedra figures out who he is, we'll get it with like clues throughout the episode.
Yeah.
It'll be like what we were hoping for John Nowwood, but like Skeleton Crew's just a different vibe. All he has to say is like a couple of things about his past, and then we move on. But I think it'll be like that if it were written more densely. If that's
I could very well see his name not being Luthen.
Yeah.
But what are the chances that it's some name that we know?
Starting with an A?
Sheev. Wait, no, we already know that's not this.
Starting with an A?
Starting with an A?
Admiral Akbar? Doesn't look anything like him.
He's got a lot of stuff from Naboo.
No,
they would know.
Yeah.
Amidala. They would know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nathan said if Luthen could be from Naboo. Yeah, we don't know.
He could be. He could very well be a separatist too. Like, separatists would hate the Empire too.
Yeah, they got done dirty.
So let me ask you this real quick, Mike. In this picture here, is that supposed to be
the guy
from Gorman? From Rogue One, but is this from
I don't think
Gorman?
so. No.
Okay, because they do look very similar. So I don't know.
I think Gorman Man is
older.
He's done.
Oh, and he's dead probably. Yeah, true.
Oh, yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, he's probably gone. All right, sadly, boys, I do have to hop off of this. But
thanks, Mike.
Of course,
thanks for your service.
I had to talk about these episodes. It had to be done, and we'll of course talk about them even more throughout the week. So
yeah, because you got live
the watch party
tomorrow. What time? Eastern
2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep, check it out. A guy who loves Star Wars. Mike, thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow on your podcast.
All right, see you guys there.
Yeah.
See you, Mike.
And then there were 3.
Yep. Look at us. I'm like the bottom of the cheerleading pyramid.
Yeah.
We're going to fall apart? No. No.
I thought it was so really cool when we got to see what Mom Mothman does with her assistant here and back and forth. And he's been, behind her for literally 2 years now on Luthen's side, but
Mhm.
looking out for her and how Luthen portrays to her, hey, you know what? This guy saved you more ways than you even know.
Well, and now you go back and watch the wedding, and he goes, "Oh, you're from Gorman and Naboo."
Mm-hmm.
Like, interesting. Let's talk. And that's probably when he hired him, and he sees the,
Well, it's definitely
Yeah.
when he hired him. But
Yeah.
it's like, is that her pool boy? Is
Yeah.
Perrin on because he's around? But like, I don't think that's the case. I think Perrin is just not there.
yeah,
But I want to know why. And I don't think him not being there was just a coincidence. Like, I think that's incredibly intentional on their part. And I think we're gonna find out in this next one.
hmm
Oh, you think so? I think we're done with Perrin.
I don't think we are. I
Okay.
think there's gonna be something. Even if it's I don't think it's gonna be minimal though. I think that there's going to be something with him. Because there was such a buildup of his change, of how he was
Yeah.
starting to switch over and like how his
Well,
personality was changing.
to your point, like, if you peel back the layers on how they could possibly get to Luthen, Perrin's involved for sure.
Yeah.
Because even even
Yeah,
though
that's
he's just a dealer of artifacts, like, Mon Mothma is like publicly a student of his, basically, not just a customer, right? Like, so I think, to your point, Derek, if he's going to make that full turnaround to a character that we like, I think he's maybe going to do Luthen a solid or not. Like, I don't know, but I think, Ron, you're right that we're done with him having a significant pull, but I think he's going to be around and I think Luthen's fate is Luthen's fate, but that's the way that I would see him being involved.
Well, and I can see what Derek said, like almost sort of like that's how somebody finds or gets to him.
Yeah.
To Luthen. It might not be a big part, but that's definitely a possibility where someone like that, where Perrin could have seen, or because Mon Mothma and Luthen have hung out so much, and she goes to the shop, and so again, does he like have any idea that Luthen is an alter ego?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
Driver's dead.
driver. That's what I was gonna say. The driver's dead. And it's like, there's a lot of things that and Perrin knew that the driver was compromised.
Mm-hmm.
Because they made mention of it while they were in there. And so there's just a lot of things that could happen with him. And I agree. I don't think it's going to be a massive part, but I think it's going to be an important part
Mm-hmm.
if he is back. Now when Mike was doing his watch party and all the stuff with Bix, there were people commenting like, "Oh, but then in 2 years he's over her and he falls in love with Jin," and I was like, "Fall in love?
They
What are you
hug.
talking about?" They hugged. Well, also they just finished, like, they were working the end of this mission. This was their whole goal, and then they knew they were going to die.
Yeah.
That wasn't falling in love. Like, I don't know. Like, I think people are a little miscued on that. And
Media literacy has never been our fandom's strong suit. So,
or relationship and intimacy.
yeah, maybe that.
Most people, that's probably the only one they've seen. I don't know. No.
I'm really looking forward to next week, because I've been putting off watching Rogue One until this is done.
Same.
So I'm like, and unfortunately, I'll probably stay up next week after 12 and watch Rogue One until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But
I will be in the middle of the ocean.
oh, that's right, you'll be in Disney.
No, I'll be at Disney on Friday,
Okay.
and then I'll be in the ocean starting on Tuesday. So, and I don't get back till Saturday, and I don't think the internet's good enough.
What time does it come on in international waters?
That's a really wonderful question.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Ooh. You know what? I'm going to Google that while we're on, because what time does Andor come on in the Bahamas?
Yeah, right.
And that's the cool thing with cruise ships is they play that stuff sometimes.
I thought that was cool. I like the two of them, but then I found this one again.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Jimmy's not there, but I thought he did a good job with that. But
yeah,
the whole these 3 things, I think, again, all 3 of these episodes revolve, even though the last one was with Mon, I think all 3 of them sort of represent her in all 3 of these episodes. And the young lady that we had on the podcast on Sunday when she stopped by was all about that. And I think that is so cool because, again, there's so many characters in this, but for me, I think the 2 main characters are Mon Mothma and Cassian.
Mhm.
You know, as much as you have Bix or you have some of these other, even Luthen, you know, but they're not in the majority of these scenes where these 2 are, and it revolves around them. And then we get to see them together in Rogue One. We get to see them together at the end of this, you know, this section as well. But I thought this was really cool, and I think they do just such a great job with her story and bringing everything together with these 3 episodes. It was phenomenal. And I started out at the beginning of 7. I was like, okay, that's cool. We're on Yavin. And then I was like, okay, it's just, and then as again, like Mike was saying before, as we get into these 8 and 9, you see what they're setting up in 7, you know, and why they're talking about these things and why back and forth. So I thought it was really cool that's how it came about in reference to, you know, what's going on in here once we get to 8 and 9, and then it's just chaos in a good way.
Yeah, depending on, you know, what planet you're from, in a good way.
Right.
I mean, I am a Sith,
Yeah.
but I'm, I don't know.
Well, we skipped over a pretty big detail.
Yeah,
Can't believe we missed it. Ron's beard is gone.
Oh no, we're just not talking about it.
Oh, okay.
He
Yeah,
does
we're
this to me because I would love to shave my beard, but one time in 16 years have I like shaved completely, and my wife said never again. Don't ever do it again. She's like, you have no chin, you have a baby face, don't do it.
I thought this was sort of cool, and I thought it was sort of a throwback to Skeleton Crew with this young lady here with her, you know, that we had. You saw that in Skeleton Crew. So I thought that was cool because, and these were 2 of the ones that were not letting the feed go down,
right,
when they were trying to kill the feed of Mon Mothma talking. And these 2 were obviously rebels.
It's little details like that that are so good, because your classic Star Wars move would be, we got to get someone in there and shut off or like lock the feed box, and it's a whole mission. Whereas like these guys, they're using their own dumb regulations against them and just saying, oh, sorry, can't do, you know, they're just random people. And it's just somehow cooler than the traditional thing that we're used to.
Now, what was your guys' takeaway when she was giving her speech of the sounds? I don't want to say cheering or booing. What do you think was the response? Do you think it was like positive or negative?
I think it was 50-50. I think it's just like the Separatists. Some people think, hey, you know, this is good. You know, we have this. We're here. I'm working. I don't really know what the Emperor's doing. I have a job. I'm supporting my family. So again, I think everything else that's going on in the universe, everybody's got their things to do. So I think some people were like, oh yeah, Gorman, you know, it's becoming a shithole. You know, they're terrorists and this and that, you know. And I'm trying to find the picture of the one thing. I forget. Oh, right here. This is where, I mean, the Empire is just turning this story around to make it look like the Gorman people are the bad people. And I think that has a lot to do with that. It's just such a big part in this to make the rest of the galaxy look at them and say, hey, they're not who you think they are.
They deserve it.
Yeah, they deserve it. So I think there's some people on Mon Mothma's side, and I think there's some that say, yeah, they deserve it. They should have, you know, why are they doing this? Or, you know, so that's my opinion. When she gave her speech, I thought it was a freaking awesome speech. I think she did a great job with it. And I think, you know, there it is right there. So
is someone's name another Mike who loves Star Wars?
Yeah, he's on all the time. What's going on? Another Mike who loves Star Wars. You just missed. Mike had to get some sleep. So yeah, this show was awesome. Wow, it was we all gave it very, you know, high 9s and 10s. So thanks for jumping on. And we're just sort of going through a bunch of different as we get off course a little bit. But what were you guys' take on in the chat here? What do you guys take on 1 to 10? What did you guys think of the whole all 3, 7, 8, and 9 episodes? Let us know in the chat here. I think we all gave it very, very high scores. So we'll see what next week.
I'm going to jump in and answer your question too, Derek, because it's not very often that Ron and I disagree. Yeah, I think I agree with everyone kind of just wants to keep the status quo and live their life in their worlds. I think it was overwhelmingly negative, and the people who had reservations about it have stayed silent for years. And that was the whole point of Mon Mothma making the speech and getting the hell out of there. Because if she can do it, she knows it. She's literally making the speech knowing they're going to kill her for doing it.
Yep.
So I just took it. I didn't even think about anybody like rousing the crowd. I thought like when she started talking, all that noise was boos. I wasn't listening to figure out whether they were boos or cheers, but I think the whole point of her doing it is being like, I'm going to get freaking tomatoes thrown at me by the whole place. But the people who are feeling a little weird about it are going to start thinking, and then that's going to get the ball rolling a little bit. And the only 3 people in there who actually want to get the ball rolling are her, Bale, and whoever that lady was that gave Bale her time, who gave his time to her, you know? And I think either maybe Ron, where I would say 50-50 is like 50% of them are hardcore Gorman deserved it folks, and the other 50% are like, from what I hear, it was a bad thing and I'm not going to get involved, you know?
So to me, I listened, I watched it 3 times, and to me it was overwhelmingly negative of the responses. And Nick, I think you hit it right on the head, was saying that the people that started to flip were silent. Because it wasn't like so loud. It was just like chattering, and she's just talking over it. And you can see she's such a great actress that in her eyes, she was like, this is hard, but I'm going to keep pushing through it. And that says 2 things. One, you've got people that will now sympathize with the Rebel Alliance. And then you'll have the people that'll go even more extreme with the Empire. So I think that speech was so important for both sides to divide who you are. Whether if you're with her, you believe it. And if you're not, you're on the Empire. And then we know our enemy.
Yeah. Kevin Bumpers.
Oh, that's totally my boy Kevin. He we hung out at the last Star Wars celebration together.
Nice.
Yeah, great dude. So welcome, my friend. I'm glad you made it. And yeah, we definitely I know you've enjoyed these last few episodes for sure. So thanks for jumping on.
Yeah. And I think the Kevin, that's something we talked to James Lucino about, like how he would write a Palpatine story, and he wanted to write about him dissolving the Senate. And that's a super cool thing that we've like never explored really that much. But the ways we have explored it is that the Death Star is the nail in the coffin. He only needs the Senate to just keep everything under control. Everyone within it knows it's a facade at this point. And he's just like, God, I can't make this Death Star fast enough because of shit like this, you know? And I agree. I think he's like, all right, build this thing faster, because I'm not going to need to keep people in line with this fake government if we have this thing and they know it. But they don't know it yet because they can't. And it plays into his hand too, because he needs the rebels to get strong and use the Death Star against them, and then he's good to go.
Yeah, Kevin said, give Tony the Oscar. I was saying this last night on Mike's show too, in the chat. I was like, if it doesn't win several awards, the fix is in. Because beyond Star Wars, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, this was not Star Wars-esque content. This was amazing drama TV, well, not even TV, cinema, movie. It was incredible.
Yeah.
So even if you're not a Star Wars fan, this is going to be the show for you.
I had a hard time going to sleep.
I had a hard time not like bursting out into tears after episode 8. I mean, I was like, and not just like sadness. I was just like, oh my gosh, like we've led up to this now, the second season, like the whole first season into this, and the tension they built was so absolutely incredible that I was like overcome with emotions.
Well, and that's my thing. When you have a show like that you might not have seen anything Star Wars, you can sit down and watch season 1 and season 2 and enjoy this, which I think is amazing. But the more amazing point is that we can enjoy it just as much, but more, because we have the beginning, the end, all this other stuff that combines these things together. And I think that's the beauty of the writing, is nobody that even knows anything about Star Wars can watch it and enjoy it, and then the Star Wars fandom can enjoy it even more.
Yeah,
and I think that's really cool, and I think he's done a great job doing that with this series for sure. And like I said, just watching, can't wait to watch Rogue One again.
Right. And that's where I also kind of feel like I wanted to bring this up of, I've been critical of Kathleen Kennedy and stuff too, but I've also praised her in her career and things she's done. I'm feeling a lot different today than I did 3 weeks ago, where the recent 3 movies, I mean, they're fine, whatever. But if that's what everybody's saying, like that ruined Kathleen Kennedy's career, she ruined Star Wars. Okay. Take that as it is. Even if you say they're horrible movies, which I don't say they're horrible, they're not my favorites. But if you're looking at everything else that Disney has done with all the series and stuff, I have a whole different feeling this week than I did 3 weeks ago.
And we kind of talked about it 3 weeks ago, didn't we?
Like we're kind of like, oh, hey, is she stepping down? That's probably great. Who are they going to get? Like, is James Cameron going to come in? Is this going to be all Filoni and Favreau? Now I'm kind of like, maybe she just needed to take a back seat and do what she does best, and that's lead and not get involved in scripts. I don't know. Thoughts? Because
I agree.
Season's incredible. Skeleton's incredible. Like, we've gotten some amazing stuff in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I agree with you, which was the point I made last time we talked about it, that her job at her best is to make this thing happen, not to like be the new Dave Filoni. Like, Dave Filoni in her job would not pan out, I don't think. Wouldn't be fair to Dave Filoni, wouldn't be fair to the whole process, because he needs to be in a creative role. Her role, technically speaking, is not creative. It's
right.
You make this happen.
Exactly.
And there's not a whole lot of people with a resume like hers at making things happen. So if that's where it is, and Andor is a representation of like the pinnacle of that, then
and I will retract my former statements. Like I'm ready to kind of eat my words right now. And that's part two, especially in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I think the three of us, that's why we get along so well, is because we're probably less critical than almost everybody. But I have been critical of her. But I will say, if this is the direction that things are going, especially with the last couple series, even if you take Acolyte in the last 4 episodes, this is some of the best Star Wars content we've ever gotten.
Yeah,
and all in a row.
Correct.
Yeah.
Two things, and another Mike who loves Star Wars. To your point, I don't know if we'll get that caliber, but I think this was the perfect caliber for what it was. I think Mandalorian and Grogu, hopefully Dave and John just kill it, and Dave does what he's going to do with his movie. I think we're still going to get amazing content. I think the writing in this was just phenomenal. But I still think that we're still going to get some good stuff from Dave and John. No matter what.
No doubt.
And like Kevin says too, just the pacing, the set design, the wardrobe, the acting, it was just all came together. the writing. It was just phenomenal for what Star Wars fans that weren't like us needed.
Yeah.
I
And
think
to your
we're going to bring more people back in to be fans like we are and continue to be, because again, it is all positive for us. There's things that's out there. What are you going to do about it? We're not going to do much about it. Just enjoy what we have. And as they continue to put more stuff out, maybe some people won't like everything, and not everybody's going to like everything, but this was just a pinnacle of what we were able to get. And I still think we're still going to see some more good stuff come out of that. I think that Maul series is going to be phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
I think it's safe to say that all the animation stuff, since they're leaning into that like Clone Wars style, is going to be phenomenal. Resistance, no one talks about it. I don't know if you guys watched Star Wars Resistance. That was probably the only flop, but I digress. But
Well,
to your
and
point,
as much as they're putting out, not everything can be a winner.
right? And to your point earlier, Derek, if this is sort of the path, I can see a pretty logical, maybe roadmap. You know, if you take the last 3 live action series, you have Andor, which is like, as another Mike who loves Star Wars is saying, is the high bar, like something where the acting, writing, sets, all the stuff is like this is like the really important one that's going to reach a more mature audience. And then you have Skeleton Crew, which is Star Wars. Here we go. Anybody can watch it.
And
it's
fun.
going to be,
and
it's
just
going to be
fun.
great. And then you have Acolyte, which is we're going to try something a little different. People might not like it. And we will make sure that there's something in there that's cool. But we're gonna try something different era, different ideas. We're gonna push the envelope a little bit. We're gonna do these Tales series where we can do some new things, really just to bolster our animation for new shows like Shadow Lord. I think that's kind of the roadmap. Is we're gonna get these. We're not gonna get an Andor every time, but when it comes around, you know, Mandalorian and Grogu is kind of like the mix between the Andor and the Skeleton Crew. Kind of hits both. That's why you can make a movie out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's kind of the roadmap is, you know, because we don't have saga films left, really, you know, you don't have to be constricted to that now. We can kind of just test these waters. And I think they found it, hopefully. That's what I would say. And it feels like in the last couple of years, they've locked down at least, you know, they've gotten done with the shows they already had contracted. They've cleared off shows that they decided they don't want to do, and now we're moving. So I don't know. But
yeah. In the direction of things, I think are great. Like kind of like you were saying, you know, they have tried some things, and there were some misses. And like I loved Book of Boba Fett. I loved Ahsoka. I loved Obi-Wan. Like all of these things I liked, but there was a lot of criticism on a lot of those. And that's fine. Like people can feel how they want to feel, but there was some like tarnishing of people's opinions and Star Wars. Now they're hitting hard right now. And then today, so they you know, they did all this with the episodes last night, and then they just announced a new park is being built.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw this. They're building in Abu Dhabi. And here's why I bring this up, because I'm the park guy. I mean, I'm going to be there on Friday. Abu Dhabi is where they shot a lot of The Force Awakens. And there's a lot of money there.
Yeah.
And like, what are they going to do with Star Wars there?
They could do anything, you know.
They have an unlimited budget right now.
Yeah.
And
especially
the
there.
whole thing with that is it's all their money, and it's just Disney Imagineering building everything with someone else's money, which the last time they really did that was in Japan. And look how it's the greatest Star Wars. It's the greatest Disney park. And they have this tied to Star Wars in Abu Dhabi. So hold on tight, friends. I think it's going to get real. And I think a lot of the shows are going to be leading to the parks.
Okay.
That's where the money goes. It's a funnel.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, it's only going to be great for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're getting more money, and then they can start taking that money and start putting it into these movies and these live actions and everything else. And Kevin, I definitely agree with you in reference to Tony keeping, you know, the effects and cinematography. We've talked about that. I think even since season one, the cinematography in this series has been phenomenal, but also, like you said, it feels lived in. It doesn't feel, like fresh and new and something, we can feel like we were there. And that's the cool part about, George and Tony taking this. And that's what I think is cool with Dave as well, working with George so much. He puts us in that Star Wars universe. And yes, this is more realistic because there's no lightsabers, there's not too much force using, if any. So I think it's just more for, like we were saying before, some of the non-Star Wars fans can come in here and enjoy this because it's so well done, whether it's the cinematography, the writing, the acting, the wardrobe, or everything all combined. And that's what I think is the most important part about Star Wars, that we're still getting these things. We're going in a little bit of a different direction for this, but it's still going to come back and end up into Rogue One, where at the end we see Darth Vader again with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
So
I know, now I'm just like thinking, I can't wait for this tie-in. Like I'm just, I'm almost like I'm starting to get at a loss for words, because where I want to anticipate what's going to happen in the next episodes, I don't even care. I'm just ready for, like, they're doing such a great job of telling us. I don't even want to speculate at this point. I just want to watch it.
And honestly, like, one of the first times in Star Wars history that we don't want to speculate. We're always doing that. And I'm like, just bring it on.
Yep.
It's going to be great. Like, we just got done with what I thought this show was going to close with, and we have like almost 3 more hours of the show. So bring it on. Like, this is going to be great. I don't care if there's a cameo. I just want,
no. Yeah. Like you said earlier, you don't need one.
Yeah.
We don't, everything that went on in these 3 episodes, we didn't need, I was looking for, I would have loved for the Ghost Crew or somebody to pop up somewhere when they were, moving her around and things like that.
But to your point earlier, we already know that. Like, to your point earlier, like, guys like us are watching it going, I know who that is, but you don't need it. And it's wonderful. Sorry, I interrupted you. But
no, that's, you're exactly right. And that's what I thought. It was just fantastic the way they did it. And another Mike who loves Star Wars with the Acolyte. Just real quick, if you haven't already, check out our interview with John Lucino, the author for Plagueis. The Acolyte, we all loved it, but there was some spots where it was like, that could have changed, or again, we look past some of those issues, just like the Bail Organa thing. Somebody was saying something to me today about that. Oh man, they recast him. I'm like, yeah, and this is why. Like we said last week, they recast him so that we could talk about it for a week, and when he popped up this week, it was okay. We can overlook those type of things because the rest of it is just so phenomenal. But to get back to my quick point, another Mike who loves Star Wars, go check out our interview with James Lucina. It was phenomenal in reference to the Plagueis book and some of his other books, because obviously it looks like you like the canon and the legends, all of it together. What's going on, Tim? Welcome.
Yeah, and with the Acolyte, we're not done with the Acolyte.
No,
the Acolyte is canceled, but we're not done with the characters because they just had the Stranger, the guy who plays the Stranger, at Celebration.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there's no way. Yeah. And we're going to get something with Plagueis. I know we are. Here's the thing. Like, again, I've said what I've said about Acolyte, but I loved the last 4 episodes of it. If there was no media and people weren't telling you how to feel about Acolyte, would you still hate it?
Probably not.
Probably not. Or you might be like, meh. And then you'd be like, oh, wow, that was really good. I think that's the problem, is that it's so easy to be influenced on this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. I mean, that's what the internet is. It's just an interesting thing. But we are not done. Mark my words. We are not done with the Acolyte. The Stranger will be back with something. Plagueis will get something. We're not done.
Yeah. And I said it a lot on the show that, like, any of the reasons that the Acolyte didn't hit weren't necessarily the fault of the people getting blamed. Like Acolyte being 8 episodes, not helpful.
Yeah.
Episodes being 25 minutes at times, not helpful. Complicated story in a timeline that we don't have and we only get one season, not helpful. So like I don't know. Anyway, all that to say, like if I especially when you go back and watch it all in a row, it's a lot cleaner. And Ron, you pointed out last time we talked about it, there were episodes where I was like, damn, I thought we were actually going to get something. And now the entire season hinges on the last episode. I don't like that. But, you know, that's why we need a second season.
I
Could you
agree.
imagine if Andor ended season 1? They're like,
Oh, that'd been horrible.
people thought it was boring. And now look what we have.
Yeah, that'd have been horrible.
And one of the issues too, not to get preachy, but like we got to be careful like what we're asking for, because are we just going to get 5 seasons of Ahsoka where we just get cameos from all the animated shows and that's what we want and we're happy with it? Or do you want to have like the Acolytes and the Andors and the Skeleton Crews, like different things, other movies, Shadow Lord? Or do we just want to like,
I think small cameos are fine. Chewie!
I want them all. I want them
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, I think small cameos are good, but where I love the cameos are when they're doing the animated stuff. I mean, we haven't even talked about it yet, but look at what they just did with Asajj and with Cad Bane.
Yeah.
Like now
with
I'm like, I
Underworld.
just want more Cad Bane. That's all I want.
Yeah.
And they did.
Steve, I agree
Was
with
it,
you as well a little bit. There is some different things. He was saying something about the Acolyte and the oversimplified Kyber bleeding scene. Yeah, and there's some things that we do have to overlook, but I think it's cool that they brought that into it. They brought that so that we can talk about it, or we can look back on books and stuff, or where the stuff is explained. You know, again, same with Plagueis. You know, what an amazing part for them to put him in there for that, 3 or 5 seconds. So again, yeah, some of the other stuff was we could have done without, but again, there's other things that, you know, when like we were talking about earlier with Hayden, you know, people were hating on him. People were hating on Jar Jar Binks. But again, whether you like it or not, and I'm not a huge Jar Jar fan at all.
I am.
But but again, you need him there. There's a reason that he's there. And I think that same thing with the Acolyte. We needed to know some of that story in reference to the Acolyte to figure out some more stuff for the Sith. And I think you guys are correct. I don't think we're done with that. I would love a second season, but there's going to definitely be some books, or hopefully possibly some animation that comes out of that.
And I think speaking of Plagueis, it's ironic some of the issues people had with some of the things in the Acolyte, because some of the ways they were presented is very, very much the same as how the prequels were presented. We just view the prequels as like the glory days. I do anyway. So like, I'll defend the Kyber crystal thing. Like, it's a very quick, you notice that it's cracked open, then she picks it up. You notice that like it's touching her hand and her hand's all discolored and weird and it's changing, all that kind of stuff. George Lucas did that all the time in the prequels. George Lucas settled the whole Sifo-Dyas who ordered the clones thing in Attack of the Clones. Little tiny drops where he said, I was hired by a man named Tyrannus on one of the moons of Bokta. And then at the end of the movie, Darth Sidious calls Dooku Lord Tyrannus. It's like, oh, Dooku made all this happen. And people asked for 20 years, well, who ended up ordering the clones? And it's like these little drops in the movie where George Lucas assumes we're paying attention. And we're not. We're just in our feelings about it. And we see a lightsaber go red and we ask, why doesn't anybody else's go red? And I would have liked a little more on that, but then the season's over and it's gone. So, you know, it is what it is, but that's my spiel. I'll shut up about it now.
There's one thing we have not talked about yet. K2.
Yeah.
How do we not talk about K2?
Well, so much.
Hey, I know.
But what a freaking, when them things came out and just started throwing people around and kicking barricades, and I was like, damn, these things are
there was one in the background where one of them picked a dude up and just like launched him down.
Yeah.
They didn't leave anything to the imagination, and kicking people through the barricade. You're right. That was wow. That made you not love K. And also, there was one thing. So we've been calling him K2. Everybody's been calling him K2. In the show, they called him KS.
KX.
Is that what it was? Was it KX? But I
Yeah,
know it definitely wasn't
That's
K2.
the brand,
the
right?
subtitles on.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then, fine. Cheater.
No,
because I was wondering like K2SO. I thought it was like KS unit, like K1S19, whatever. Okay.
The thing with those droids is that, you know, we the first time we saw him was K2, so it was like, oh, it's another K2. We see him again in, it was either the Book of Boba Fett or the Mandalorian, where they're, you know, showing Mandalore getting destroyed, and you see him walking around shooting people, and that's like, oh, they're kind of menacing. And then you see him arrest Cassian in the last season, and they're kind of menacing, but you just see him as like, oh, it's, you know, Empire version of a battle droid. This was terrifying, especially with like what's going on and what you're already feeling. And when they start walking out, you're like, you feel similarly to the terror that you would feel if you saw them walking out. Like they, like you said, they leave nothing to the imagination. They're just swinging for the fence on these people. And I saw someone post on Reddit today that while they were watching the Gorman stuff, especially when those droids walked out, they like, I now view Star Wars completely different, because I used to watch the originals wanting the rebels to win, and now I watch it wanting the Empire to lose, because it just gives this new feeling of like, this is the most horrible thing possible. It's not just like a good guy bad guy thing. It's like, I obviously want the good guys to win, but I want these people wiped out for what they're doing. And I mean, the fact that they just turn them loose and they're like, have at it. And then never mind. They put all green new soldiers in, knowing that they'd freak out.
Oh, and die.
Shoot one of them.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't want good soldiers.
Yeah.
It was like, it's like the Boston Massacre.
Yeah.
In the French Revolution. Like I said in Mike's show, I said it's like Les Mis.
Yeah.
It's all of that, where you've got these people that are in charge and these guys and conspirators. But then, so going back to the K2 with all of this, the person that smashes him and gets it so that they can have him is the guy that killed what's her name. So it's like,
yeah,
wow. Like, he's not redeemed there. Ron, you're killing it tonight, man.
Yeah. Dang.
Look at you. Ron, Ron gets a 10 out of 10 tonight. I love it.
Trying to put in little pictures so everybody.
Gosh, yeah, that's perfect. I
You
mean,
forgot, you know.
perfect scene and everything. So he saves the day. He saves the day. He gets the droid that turns the tide in Rogue One. Because if K2 wasn't there, they wouldn't have gotten it.
No.
Wasn't going to happen. And I can't wait to see what that looks like this next week.
Yeah. I thought this was an interesting story. I did not see this coming, that Cassie was going to go try to kill her. I thought that was pretty cool. Dedra.
Yep.
That was an interesting part to the little interesting twist to everything that was going on as well.
I was kind of thinking that when
that's why they got him. That's why we see him on Gorman. Sorry.
I was kind of thinking that when Cyril tackled him, I thought, because he gets a shot off, and I was kind of thinking that like he might have gotten it in time, and obviously he didn't. But I was like, man, are both Cyril and Dedra going to go? But I'm glad,
because there's still some scenes we haven't seen.
Yeah.
From trailers. Yeah. My thing with that was like, Cassian didn't want to go. He didn't want to do it, and that's why I was like, he's not going to pull the trigger, even if he gets like a really, really good opportunity. I just didn't see it happening because of how he was feeling. Especially, see, now I think it will happen in the next one.
Could be. I think they were like, at least what my perspective, every time that he went to try to shoot her or look through the optical, she all of a sudden she turned away or walked away, or he didn't have a good shot. So you might be right, but that my opinion on that was like, okay, he's looking up. I got the shot. Oh shit, she's
Right.
moving.
And I guess that makes sense too, because Cassian's definitely a ready aim fire, not a ready fire aim kind of guy. Like he's gonna make the right decision. He's gonna take his time. And if it's not right, he's not gonna do it.
And I thought they would use that to bolster when he does pull away on Galen in Rogue One, when he's got the rifle trained on him and he does pull away. He's like, dude, I should have shot him. That's what I do, man. And then he doesn't. And I thought like, okay, well, he's gonna get this shot off to just like demonstrate that, but he didn't. But it's okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering if he is gonna get the chance in the next one. Like, is he gonna be the one to do it? Because I feel like he has to be the one to do it.
On Luthen?
No, I think that Dedra is gonna find Luthen, and she's gonna either do it. I don't think she's got the heart to do it, but I think that scene where someone's gonna die is gonna be the three of them.
Yeah, can't be.
And obviously, it can't be Cassian.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, two things. I thought this was just a phenomenal scene where he scares her when he comes in, and he just he raises his voice, and she's just like, "Oh shit," and then he grabs her, but then he grabs her around the neck like that. I was just like, "Oh shit," because again,
arc with it.
We're another year into this, so they've been dating for 2 years now, right?
In the
maybe
the
3
sub of everything.
Yeah, and again, he's figuring out, oh, she's been using me this whole time. So I thought that was just a great scene where he sort of has that arc or whatever whatever they call it, where he just changes from this sort of we haven't seen that side of him before.
Yeah,
I don't think not like that, especially with that.
We saw like a little bit of like future serial killer vibe from him in season 1, like this guy sucks and he's a weirdo, and I feel like that's about as far as it goes right there, is him like just rage choking her, obviously, because like we said before, he could have just cold-blooded shot Cassian right in the head and wasn't going to do it, so I don't know what would have happened. I think it's better that Ryan's got his this guy.
Yeah, Ron, you already got it because Kevin said the grin on this guy's face. He was smiling, he was loving it, and it's like, I can't wait to see him get unalived. I'm so excited for that.
It was such a like Imperial thing too for him. He's like, I'm just the trigger. I just set up the trigger. You're the finger. It's like you did all of that, and you just technically need Dedra to say go. Like you're doing all this, and you're like, wasn't me. Like I'm just setting things up. You're my boss, and it's like she doesn't have a choice. Are you kidding? Partagas and all these people set it all up so that it would have to happen. She's like,
people are even saying like, "Oh, you brought kids. Like they look like kids."
Yeah, cannon fodder is what I thought when they showed up.
Totally.
And I guess like, so I was totally wrong that she would get Axis in on it, but I still think she wanted to try to actually get outside agitators on it, which is why she wanted to give Cyril the thing to be like, hey, you did it, and I don't have to tell you what's actually going on. And then
wanting to get him out.
Yeah.
And like even after he choked her, she said, we need to get him back here. Not in a we need to get him back here because we need to end him. It was like, she's like, I need him.
Yeah. Yep. Because it could have very easily been he knows too much. We gotta kill him, but it wasn't. It was we need him safe.
And that's exactly how she played it. Because she could have said, go, take him out.
Yeah.
And she didn't do that.
That's what I thought at first when he bailed and she was like, go get him. I was like, I thought they were gonna we need to make sure he keeps his mouth shut. But then I was like, oh no, she's got a little emotion involved in this.
Yeah. Him out there, if she wanted to silence him, that's the best place for him to be, is right in the middle of that crowd.
Right.
Yep.
And yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting again as this year goes by to see what happens next week with everything that just happened. And then we're gonna flop into just before Rogue One, which I think is gonna be pretty cool.
And as I said just a little bit ago, like I don't even care. I don't want to speculate, but I'm like, we're gonna get a lot of Saw. We
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Something big's gonna happen with Saw.
And I wonder if we will get to see. Well, I guess we won't. He'll probably be the way he is in Rogue. He's going to have to be the way he is in Rogue One. We're not going to see him lose his legs or anything like that, because if we're going to go right up to Rogue One, he's already there.
I think we're gonna see it. I think we're gonna see it.
You think?
Yep. Because they can do it fast. Look at the technology they have.
Mhm.
They can. I mean, they brought back Maul. He got cut in
No,
half.
I understand that, but I think we're too close to Rogue One for them to chop his legs off and do what they're doing to him, and then him be where he's at in Rogue One and be controlling that whole station, that whole group, after you just got your legs blown off and you're walking around again. You know what I mean? He's going to have time to heal, but
I don't
maybe
think
not.
so. I think it's going to happen. You're going to see it. I mean, we've seen it with a lot of different things, with like Luke and Anakin. Of like, look at Anakin. He gets burned up, and he's breaking stuff already. I mean, obviously he has the Force, but I think we're going to see it, because I think otherwise it leaves too many questions as to what happened. And
He's also probably got Rhydonium going through that mask that's just numbing him out, you know? So,
yep.
Maybe a
See,
flashback.
yeah, as I say, I don't want to speculate now. I'm like, all I want to do is speculate. I can't make a decision.
I shouldn't have speculated, shouldn't have hoped. I really, really thought that Mon Mothma was going to make that speech to Palpatine's face.
Yeah, I wasn't. I didn't think that was going to happen. I
was
thought we'd
like-
see Vader before Palpatine.
Yeah, I thought like same little 30 seconds that you got Ian that in Obi-Wan, they might throw him in there. They wouldn't even need him on set. I thought she would do it, or even someone we knew, and it was the frog man.
I mean, don't count it out. It could happen this week.
Yeah,
Week.
I don't think it's going to happen, but
And I did look up, so I'll be porting out of Miami that night, and it will be released in Miami at 10 p.m. or at 9 p.m. In the Bahamas, it's 10 p.m. So I'm hoping my last show of the night is at 10:15. So I'm hoping I can dip out of that show a little bit early and pay for the premium package so I can watch it.
there you go.
So I'm gonna do my best, fellas. I've got to see it.
Oh yeah. This was just such a phenomenal time as well. I thought when she's done and she comes out and she's the only one out there and he's right there, and the two of them have a spectacular interaction, I think, because she just doesn't know what to do right now, but all that stuff that he's saying is clicking in on, from what she's got the information from Luthen.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden she's not sure, but again, she feels safe enough and she trusts Luthen enough to go with this guy, especially once they get into that one room where the the ISB agent that hired that chick, she's got a gun now, and Mon Mothma's like behind him, and then once he shoots her, she's like, holy shit. And then when they get to the driver, and even when he says that, he's like, what is that? Doesn't he say, welcome to the rebellion?
Yeah.
After he shoots that girl, it's like, hey, this is, you wanted this, you wanted the peace, and you wanted, I mean, there's going to be prices to pay. And I think that's what the great part of Luthen is. And he understands that from the top down. And I think that Cassian is obviously figuring that out now, that we have to, there's going to be lives lost.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And Cassian's gotten so much better at like reading the room, because he says that I have friends everywhere to her. She very reluctantly goes with him, and he just keeps saying like, hey, I was at Aldhani, you know what that is, I was doing this, I was doing that. And he's like, if it were under Luthen's direction, it would be like, I have friends everywhere, shut the hell up and get in the elevator. And I think Cassian's like, hey lady, I know, I get it, this is crazy, but here's all these things that would
yesterday.
matter.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the writing is just phenomenal in this for what we got this time around. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and the whole scene like in the Senate and when he's like rebel and like that's why he shoots the girl and like man like he's on his stuff now. He's understanding like he's got to do some things.
Yeah. I was waiting for Melchi to show up.
Yeah.
So because again he's in Rogue One. We see him jump. We see him in the last couple episodes with Andor. Obviously they have a bond, so it'll be interesting. Hopefully that they get to see each other again, or we get to have some sort of interaction. I'm hoping just a handshake or a pass by or something like that. Because when Val finds that gun, which is Cassian's gun, and she's like, "Whose is this?" And he's like, that's why he raises his hand. And I thought that was just sort of cool because he does have a decent size. He has a good part in Rogue One. I mean, he's there on Scarif with them. Which is pretty cool. So I thought that was a cool little, not really a cameo, but bringing him back into the picture because we hadn't seen him since, the last season, and we're almost done with this season.
Well, I've seen a lot of people like wondering is it Bodhi, the pilot, if
we'll see that whole thing transpire, that would be cool.
I just don't think we're going to.
I don't think so either, but that would be cool if we got a little glimpse of that whole situation in a 2 or 3 minute scene where whether it's Galen talking to Bodhi or Bodhi just escaping or something like that. Because again, we know what else is going to happen. But with these last 3 episodes, like Nick was saying earlier, I think we already know a lot of the answers and what's going to happen. We know the Ghost crew was there to help her out, so we don't need that there. We know that.
Do we know how long the episodes are yet?
I don't know, but to your guys' point about like all that stuff's going to be happening no matter what, and this show has been so good at even just mentioning things that work. So they already mentioned Edu, which is where Galen Erso is. I don't know the science, but the guys at Edu are saying that this is how it works. And it's like, I know who that is. And, I think there's going to have to be at least a mention of at least someone that we can imply is Galen Erso. I think there's going to be a mention of Bodhi Rook because we know that Clea knows there's a weapon. And they all know that because Bodhi Rook defected and told them. And Galen Erso gave them the message. And so
we didn't talk about Clea this yet either. Like she was like really kind of anti-Luthen in the last 3, and now she's like back on board.
Yeah.
So like I kind of want like what happened that
I rewatched the previous 3, and I guess I didn't notice the first time that when they walk out of the party, they're like chummy again. And he's like, oh, we should have killed Krennic right there, shouldn't we? And she's like, yeah. And they're all, walking out of the party.
Yeah, and that was sort of fun. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. Right. And so I don't know if that's all it took for them to be friends again, but
maybe. And I don't think that they were having like, I think it was just some growing pains that they are going through of like, gosh, you're asking so much of me. And like she was an important part at the beginning of episode 7 saying like, what do you think you're going to get out of this? Like, you're done. What do you mean you're done?
Right.
You can't be done. And I think that was super important. That gets overlooked. And it really set the tone for the next 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It's funny because I thought the same thing when he was saying that. I was like, there's no way he's done. He must be saying, I'm going to Yavin, forget you guys. And he meant he was done with the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's, I just assumed he's like, oh, okay, this is the clean break from Luthen. He's done with Luthen. He's going to Yavin. We already know he ends up there, whatever. But yeah, he was ready to leave it all, which is wild.
But, well, and I think I want to know next week who she's talking to, and obviously we'll find out when she talks about, they're building a whatever she says, a weapon. And she's telling it to somebody. It's not, and it can't be Andor. Can't be Cassian because he doesn't know about it yet. So
Doesn't he though?
Not until not until Rogue One.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
You know, right at the very beginning, obviously. But I think it'll be interesting if it's her talking to Luthen about it, and then maybe that's in the first episode or whatever. But I think I think that's who she's talking to, probably Luthen.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what happens with that after she talks to him about that.
And as you guys have pointed out, by Rogue One logic, Saw has to be extremely involved because this whole defected pilot Galen Erso thing goes through Saw Gerrera. And the Alliance is like, we're kind of not with that guy anymore. He's crazy.
Yeah, that's why like
True.
something ridiculous has to happen with him.
Yeah. And so the only person they can send is Jyn Erso in the entire galaxy, you know, and in true Star Wars fashion, they get her. But anyway, that, you know, Saw has to be involved, and I think at minimum we get like a lot of information about Galen and Bodhi, maybe not by name, but about what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think we get, because in Rogue One, I'm sure there are a lot of people wondering, like, man, how did that happen? Same as in the original. Maybe there are a lot of people wondering, how did they steal the plans? And now we're a couple steps back.
Right.
But like, you know, how does Galen pull off like influencing a pilot to deliver like the biggest message in the universe, you know, to these people? And I think we're going to at least see, in the cool way that we've been wanting to see, Luthen's kind of final mob-esque moment, which is, this is the peak. This whole thing burns after I tell them about this weapon, and you know, they're on to me. But we'll see.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting, I think, next week, and then we're done for a little bit.
Oh, so sad.
But I think, again, like Nick was saying, I mean, he went back and watched last week's episodes. I mean, probably tomorrow I'll watch 7, 8, and 9 again, just to watch them again. And then once we're done, you know, next week we'll go into Rogue One, probably go back and watch the whole series through again. You know, which is fantastic because you can do that, or at least I know the three of us can, and probably everybody else that's on this chat can do that, you know, and go back and just continue to enjoy them and pick out something else. Even though I've watched the recaps for Mike or some of these other, you know, Star Wars podcasts that do the recaps and stuff like that, it's still, you still find something new each time that we watch them. You know, like I was saying last week or the week before when Nick and I went to Return of the Revenge of the Sith, I was like, I never knew that Millennium Falcon was coming in over on the bottom there, you know. So that was cool for me, and I thought that was cool again when they and I can't think of his name right now, and I knew Mike knows it, but when they were talking about bringing we got these orders from the lieutenant, and then the guy from the original Star Wars, from A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. Thank you. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, for them to drop those two names, it was just a thing coming out. So I thought that was pretty cool. I did not get the popcorn bucket.
I did not either. My cinema did not have it.
I don't think I didn't see anything at the cinema that Nick and I went to.
I was looking
either.
It was only at one like chain that was doing the bucket.
Usually AMC gets like,
I think that's who it
all
was.
kinds of stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And we went to Regal, I think.
Oh, sorry, hit the wrong button.
But behind you,
camera. Yeah,
yeah, new camera. It's like doing all kinds of weird zooms. This is what I get to see. This is like all of you guys. It's fun.
That's freaking huge.
It's a cool studio.
Thanks.
So everybody that's on here, we will be doing this one more time next week.
I won't
Andor will be out on Tuesday. Yeah, unfortunately, Nick or Derek will be working. He will be in Florida in Disney World first.
Yep.
And he will be making another lightsaber, but
sure will. And I'll probably do some lives. Yeah, I'll probably be doing some lives in the park on my personal YouTube channel, which is the Derek Frank. So make sure you hit that up. And yeah, we're gonna do some fun stuff.
Yeah, if you haven't already, like he just said, the Derek Frank, go check his. He's got a YouTube channel, Instagram, probably TikTok too as well.
Oh yeah,
right?
my TikTok's going viral today.
Yeah, nice.
I'm at about 150,000 views on my newest video about a Walmart employee.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Oops.
Not how I wanted to go viral, but okay.
But yeah, if you haven't checked him out, because he will be in Disney World making a new lightsaber. So
Sure will.
but we will be back here again next Wednesday at 7:30 after 10, 11, and 12 are dropped. And I think we'll have a lot to talk about after that. And we can also go back in and talk a little bit more about Underworld. I think we need to retouch on that again because it came out in the middle of Andor. It was amazing, but Andor has just sort of taken over the whole Star Wars world right now, I think. So I think we'll definitely go back to that. I've been having a good time with these. So I know we were talking about just doing it once a month, but if you guys are down with it, maybe we'll try to get in a couple times a month. I think it would be cool, even though we're going to start slowing down a little bit on the source that's the material that's coming out. We're going to still have books. I just got a couple comics from my son that he got for me in reference to some of these new Star Wars comics that are coming out. And correct me if I'm wrong, they are considered canon. Is that correct? The comic. So yeah, I think I did not know that. So
nothing that comes out now is Legends. Okay. Unless they're re-releasing Legends stuff.
Okay.
Or unless it's Visions.
Yeah. Gray area.
Yeah.
Also in the chat or on our channel or on Instagram, if there's stuff that our viewers want us to talk about, I'm sure we'd love to take a swing at it once we have like less stuff coming out and we have maybe a little less to talk about that's happening right now.
Yeah. We will be getting back to interviews. Have a couple lined up. Hopefully in the next month or two here, we'll get some. We got some pretty cool people that'll be coming on here that are big in the Star Wars universe. So it'll be interesting to see that. I'm looking forward to interviewing these people as well. So, and we might have a couple people that have been on here before jump back on. And so we are gonna probably Nick and I were talking about, we have Nashville Comic-Con, which will be coming up, I think, what is it, June or August?
Yeah.
But one of the weekends. So we might be going out there, doing some lives from out there, actually taking the podcast there for the weekend. And there's several voice actors from Star Wars that'll be out there, from Clone Wars and Rebels. So hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to them as well. I'm not sure if there's any other Star Wars celebrities that'll be out there, but again, there'll be a bunch of stuff going on out there, which will be really cool. So we'll be out there with the podcast to do that. So again, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. And for May the 4th, we had a great time being at the bar and meeting some new people and making some new friends. Again, we all got our geeky tikis. So this was it was really cool. So I think what we're gonna do is we are gonna have a giveaway. I have a Darth Vader, so stay tuned with that. We'll probably do that not next week with Andor, but the following live we'll go ahead and do that. We'll figure out something to do so we can give that away. But they're great. They're great mugs. I mean, they're sturdy.
Fantastic.
Did you say they're dishwasher and microwave safe, or you don't know?
I don't know about microwave, but I put mine in the dishwasher.
Okay.
Oh, if I should, but I do it.
Yeah, I didn't see anything on. Usually it says dishwasher and microwave safe, but it doesn't say anything on these. So I was just like,
I wash them in the dishwasher a lot. So I also have a bunch of the plastic tumblers that are really, really cool.
Oh, nice.
From Beeline?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They're super nice.
We'll check them out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are going to wrap this episode. I want to thank everybody for being on here live with us. And we really appreciate your comments and just coming on and spending some time and talking positive about Star Wars, because what a great time it is to be a Star Wars fan. So Thank you guys again for being on live with us. Check us out next week. Go over and check out some of our other podcasts. If you haven't already, please hit a like, subscribe, tell your friends, and may the force be with you. We'll see you on the next Star Wars Jedi Chat.